So I'm going to dive into this example straight away. And, those numbers that we used earlier, 50 and 20, actually are not like necessarily the best numbers for this particular example. And I'll show you why in a minute. But here's our 50 pips in profit. And we can see that obviously the trade hit this trigger right here, or right here, obviously. So right here, it hits this trigger and then it actually continues. So we actually get, it actually was in profit by really like 35 pips past our trigger. So 85 pips in total in profit. So 50 plus 35. And then it comes back. So again, we're trailing by 20 pips. So as soon as it comes back 20 pips the other way, that's when it's going to get us out. And we can see that it got us out somewhere on this candle. And this is the reason why I say this isn't the best numbers, is because I can't see exactly where that would be. So let's actually use some different numbers. Let's use 60, and then let's use, I think it was 40. This should be better. Okay, nope. Actually, it was 50. Should be 60 and 50. And that's perfect. Okay, so great. So now we actually see these blue dots on our chart, which again, let's jump into the style here. These blue dots are the trailing. So this is the trailing level, which is kind of interesting, right? So this is the level at which it's going to actually sort of, if we draw a line connecting these blue dots, this is where it's going to get us out. So in this case, it got us out. The red X is not marking the spot where it got us out at, because obviously price was never even right here. The price literally never got to this particular point in time. It was right there, right over here, but that obviously hadn't even hit our trigger yet. So if we draw this line connecting these blue dots, we can see that that's where it's going to get us out. So again, we're 50 pips in profit, and then our trailing amount is 50. So I'm sorry, let me take that back a step. So our trigger in this case is 60 pips, which we can again measure out here. So from our entry to our trigger, it's 60 pips exactly. And then our trailing amount is 50 pips. And so I believe that if we measure this out, it should be, yeah. So this is what it is right here. So we can see what happened here is the price got to our trigger and then it blew right past it, like a speeding driver blowing past the stop sign, which is a good thing in this case, not in driving. Hopefully that doesn't happen on the road. But in this particular case in trading, it is a good thing. We want the price to blow past our trigger and just keep going and going and going forever. I mean, obviously that's not going to happen, but it does in this case blow past our and let me actually, well, I don't want to take this off quite yet, but if you can see this candle wick here, I'm going to do it anyway. It actually blew past with this candle wick. It blew past our trigger again. Like I said, another like 35 pips or so. So we're totally now like 85 pips or so in profit. If we draw use our drawing tool here to draw from the bottom of this candle wick all the way up to this first blue dot, that's going to be exactly 50 pips. And that's where we get that 50 number from. So it is trailing by 50 pips. And then we can see we actually got out of this trade. Again, I'm connecting these blue dots here. And we got out of this trade at this candle right here. And then if you look off to the right of the chart, you can see that number 142.562. That's where we would have exited that trade. Exactly. Or almost exactly. And this red X here, again, marks the candle that would have been the candle that we exited on. So it's not right here. We didn't exit right here, thankfully, because that really wouldn't have been, that wouldn't have been an extremely profitable trade. But in this particular case, we were able to keep, what was our net profit or our net gain? It was 40 pips, right? So not too bad there. So pretty good. So that's that. What if, let me remove this. So what if we even set, let's say we wanted to trail by 70 pips. Okay, now we're really trailing by a good amount there. Now see what happened to these blue dotted lines? It moved them up. And now not only do we have one set of blue dotted lines, we actually have two sets of blue dotted lines. And if we zoom in real closely here, we can actually see that this blue dotted line is a little bit lower than this blue dotted line. Again, that's how trailing stops work. Again, if this is at all confusing to you, just pause this video, go watch a tutorial on how trailing stops work. Again, I'm going to make a follow-up tutorial, but that video just isn't ready for you yet. But I am going to make that a priority to make that video. But in any case, YouTube is your friend here. Learn how trailing stops work, and then this will all make perfect sense for you when it comes to this indicator. So in this case, if you're trailing our our trigger here by 70 pips, again, let's draw that line, or let's draw that diagram here. So again, now we're 70 pips from the very low here, because again, remember, it blew past our trigger all the way to way down here, and then 70 pips up from that is going to be this point right here, which again, look off to the right there is 142.762. Almost, right? Because I'm actually at 68.6. This should be 70. And if I draw this a little bit more carefully, I will get 70 on the dot. There we go. So that's where it's going to get us out of this trade, right? But here's the kicker. It never got to this point. It actually kept going down, which we love. We love that. This is perfect. And then it even kept going further. And then if we draw a low from the low point here all the way up again, there we got another 70. So it keeps trailing, it keeps moving our stop down and down. And then finally, again, we can connect these blue dots here. And this, like I said, this one was actually a little lower, but this is where it's stopped us out at. Let me actually draw this with this one. So we actually got stopped out of this trade at like 142.16, or you get the point. You get the point. So that's where it stopped us out of that trade. Very profitable trade for us. And again, this red X marks the candle here. The candle, but not the exact spot. Again, it's not this point right here. It is the horizontal equivalent of this blue dot. So I hope that makes sense. I think I try to go as slowly as possible, and I promise you, I don't think any of you are dumb. I know that you all are very smart people, and but the reason why I do that is just so I can cater to everybody. And so if any of you are like confused about it, I'm trying to go as slow as possible and really spell things out in a simple the simplest way I possibly can. So anyway, that's kind of that. You could go and look at a bunch of other examples. I could give you an example of like a long trade, but I think it's a bit redundant since we already kind of went over that in the short position, but I'll do it just real quick. So again, from the top point here to here, that should be 70. And it is, because again, remember, here's our trigger. So this is where, once it hits our trigger, then boom, our trailing is in. So imagine, being like, well, I'm not going to go and I'm not going to waste your guys' time. You get the point, I think, I hope. If not, shoot me a message and I'll explain in more detail. But that's kind of it in terms of the trailing for this indicator. And I think this is all pretty easy, pretty straightforward for you there. Let me show you real quick what I meant earlier. Let me do actually like 30 for the first take profit, and then this should remove. It actually doesn't. Let me. I'm kind of wondering why now. Let's do 30, 30, and 30. Yeah. So when we. So in this particular case, we bought right here, and this is our first take profit at 30 pips. And the indicator is just saying, okay, you got out of the trade already. So it's basically ignoring this trailing stop. It's saying, we know that you're not even in this trade anymore. So why do you care if we show you where the trailing stop is? Just keep that in mind when you're using this indicator, in case you get confused and you're like, why is it not showing me where my trailing stop is? Well, it's because you already got out of the trade in some way. And by the way, it could also be from a stop loss. So let's say, let me actually go back and do like a ridiculously high number to bring this back. And then now we can see our trailing sort of setup here comes back. But let me turn my stop loss on. Let me do a manual stop loss, and let me set my stop loss distance at 1, right? So we're almost guaranteed to get stopped out of this trade. And let me add my stop loss so you can see where that is. And obviously, if we have a stop loss of 1 pip, we're going to get stopped out. It's guaranteed no matter what trading strategy you're using. It's pretty much guaranteed. But so we can see here our trailing whole setup here got disappeared because, again, it's assuming we're out of the trade already. So why do you care to see what happened with the trailing? Again, let me make this a large number here, and then we can see our trailing setup kind of comes back with these blue dots and this red X, and these orange crosses sort of extend across again. Hopefully that's all helpful, guys. And yeah, let me know, shoot me a message. If any of this is confusing, I'd be more than happy to explain in more detail, whether it's writing you a message on Facebook or even hopping on a Zoom call real quick. If you need you need a minute, you're like, wow, this is complicated. I am more than willing to really help you guys out. So let me know, lean on, YouTube and Google when you can. But if that doesn't work, definitely come to me, and I'll help you out. So anyway, guys, happy trading and take care.